Well, hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Ultimate Wellness Group Transformation Tuesday. Got a wonderful show for you today. I thank you for spending some of your Tuesday evening with the Ultimate Wellness Group. For we are pleased to have you, and we pray that we have something worthwhile to discuss with you today. So, today we'll be talking briefly with, of course, your comments about our last two books that we read, which was How to Eat to Live Book Two and The Unapologetic Black Guide to Mental Health. Just wanted to have a short conversation on what you all thought and what were some of the main takeaways that you got from that book and how you're going to incorporate it into your life. I'll talk about that myself a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about something that I was reading today that is even more powerful testimony to How to Eat to Live, and the fact that we just finished reading those two books and we're in the midst of a pandemic where we need a good immune system. And then I'd like to close today with a couple of announcements, and we're going to talk about this new vaccine, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So let's get started. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I further bear witness that God came in the person of Master Father Muhammad, who we say is God in person. And that's what it says at the top of that book, right? From God in person. That's the foundation of this show. And of course, we believe that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad met with that man that we say was God in person for 3 years and 4 months. And the body of knowledge, the body of wisdom, and the tree, the fruit that his tree bears, we think bears witness that it's much more profound than the 3 years that he went to school, started the fourth grade, but didn't finish it. It's quite a bit of a world impression to just have gone to the third grade of so-called education in this country. And of course, neither of them left us alone, left us with a guide, a wonderful guide, a warner, a friend, speaking none other than the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. In their names, I greet you with the words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. So again, if anybody is here for the first time and you don't understand why I started that way, it's because I would like for God to guide my mind, guide my heart, guide my spirit, guide my words, remove my ego, my arrogance, so I may be a vessel for you and your benefit on your health or your healing journey. So let's get directly into the show. A couple of shout outs, and then we're going to get into it. Catherine Muhammad, Etta Purcell, Daisy Muhammad, George Allen, 8 Electronics, peace and blessings. Wa alaikum salam to you all. Thank you for the continued support. So I'm going to start with, of course, the foundation, right? We just finished reading these two books. So I want to know if anybody has any testimonies. Did you apply anything? It was a very wonderful 2 months for me because, of course, reading something out of How to Eat to Live every day keeps your mind on How to Eat to Live, keeps your mind on trying to do better with your health and eat in a prescribed way that gives us guarantees, no sickness, right? Getting rid of chronic illnesses, whatever it is that we're looking for. I think we can find it in those books, and it definitely helped keep it on my mind, helped put me back on point and striving to be a better example and a better steward for myself and anybody around me and anybody that is looking at my example, right? Rico Perkins, wa alaikum salam, my brother, he say, looking forward to today's show. Praise the God we serve. So in light of that, I was reading something today. I think I've showed you all this journal before, the Well-Being Journal. I read the typical medical journals at times, but in general, I don't read them on a regular basis because I have come to the conclusion that's just promoting what the economics of medicine want us to believe, rather than information that makes us think through what it is that we're doing for ourselves and for the people that trust us, right? So I just wanted to mention a couple of things out of here that I think are extremely important and are just another couple of examples of how the information that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote, as I said, these books, How to Eat to Live, are from articles that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote in the Pittsburgh Courier and other black newspapers around the country in the 30s, in the 40s, in the 50s, in the 60s. And then he compiled these books in the 70s. Book one in the late 60s, book two in the early 70s. But it was a compilation of information that he had been teaching the public on for years. And these scientists within these modern days, I'm talking about the last 10 to 20 years, are now starting to be able to explain what he was teaching years ago. Did he use all the fancy terms? No. But is the wisdom in that book? Absolutely. And this is why I will always continue to give him the credit that is due, because I didn't learn these things from medical school. I didn't learn these from the doctors that I was looking up to. I learned that out of that book, How to Eat to Live. So here's a statement on this article about eating your way to better sleep, right? We talked last week about the navy bean. I think a couple of weeks ago about the navy bean having the basic nutrients, the amino acids that can help you produce tryptophan, which can help produce melatonin, which helps us with our sleep, right? Here's a statement. It is almost always necessary to correct dietary indiscretions in order to safely replace and balance hormones. Much of what one reads about the hazards of taking hormones such as progesterone or estrogen is associated with problems from the diet. The diet, right? Not only can diet modification reduce the risk associated with the use of sex hormones, but also the proper diet can often reduce or eliminate the need for sex hormone replacement at all. So again, when I was reading that this morning, so I got to mention this today. As I say, it's just another beautiful testimony. And here's another one. The glutathione revolution. So this article is really just discussing this new research, right? I think this research here was from 2020. Yes, from 2020. And this doctor was doing research and, talking about some doctors in the past that did research on specifically how glutathione is made and what glutathione does to the body. And it's just amazing that they're talking about the benefits of glutathione, which is part of boosting our immune system, because it is so beneficial to the body in general, blood cells, tissues, all kinds of things. And in addition to all the benefits that it does, it pulls toxins, heavy metals out of the body, right? And so here are some of the foods that in this article, they say we can get not only glutathione, but even the precursors to making glutathione in the body. Onions, garlic. This man told us back all those times, he said eat as much onion and garlic as you can. So onions, garlic, raisins, sunflower seeds, and brown rice. Right. And another part in this book, I can't think of where it is right now, but they talked about how to produce rice or cook your rice and prepare your rice so that it doesn't have so much sugar in it, doesn't have so much starch. He taught that in these books years and years and years ago about how to brown the rice to get rid of some of the starch before you actually produce the rice to be able to eat. Right. And then, as we know, we've been talking about vitamin C and other things that boost the immune system. And here are the foods that they talk about in conjunction with glutathione can help boost the immune system so well. Red and green peppers, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, strawberries, papaya, oranges, cantaloupe, and tangerines. All foods that he mentioned in these books, right? All foods that we have talked about over the last couple of weeks because of their immune boosting ability. And so, like Brother Tariq said, don't sleep on that navy bean. We got to get that navy bean in us. Brothers and sisters, I think it's probably, literally, I would say it's probably the most important food that you can put in your diet on an everyday basis. I try to do it as navy beans. And then second would be fruit. And maybe right there tied with it, maybe whole milk, of course, done in the right way. And then vegetables, those are all really close. But navy bean, probably the most important aspect of my diet. Ebony Simone, Walaikum Salam, 80 Electronics, How to Eat to Live is definitely a reference book to be used on a regular basis. Can't be read once. That is for sure, my brother. I'm in it all the time. People ask me questions or things come to my mind. Or like I just said, I'll read things and I'll say, dang, what's Honorable? I know the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says something about that and go look. and find it. So you are actually right. And he actually says that in there. Keep this book close so you could use it as a reference. He knew what he was talking about. Roger Bronze, what up, my brother? How you doing, man? Ramana Vanik Muhammad, walaikum salam. Sister Queen, walaikum salam to you both. Rico Perkins says, make some navy bean soup as I type. That's right, brother. Yeah, as soon as I finish this show today, I'm going to give me some. Tariq Cardiac Muhammad, there he is. That's my man talking about don't sleep on that navy bean. Come on, say it for me, brother Tariq. I know you said it with me. Got to get that navy bean in. So if you all have any Anita Yorker, yes, ma'am. If you have any testimonies about how to live and the fact that we've read it and what did it impress upon you or what did it help you do over the last couple of months, go ahead and throw some comments in there for me. Next, I wanted to talk briefly about the Unapologetic Black Guide for mental health, because my wife and I were on a road trip a couple of days ago, and we were just having a conversation about, life, our relationship, and she started to ask me questions about myself. And of course, my wife is a very scientific woman, right? In the kitchen and out of the kitchen and business and so many different things. So she started asking me questions about me and my mama, right? I'm driving. I'm like, what is this? I'm being analyzed while I'm driving down the street, but it was so beautiful because she was asking questions to me about things that she's heard when she and I are in my mother's company, and my mother and I are having conversations, and I'm asking questions, trying to figure things out about myself. And she started asking me questions about, my mother. And, my mother told me and my wife this story one time about the fact that she knew when she got pregnant with me. She knew the next morning. When the house that I grew up in, my father wanted to Christian it. We're having some sex that first night. My mother said she woke up the next morning and she knew she was pregnant, but she didn't want to be pregnant. She was having one of those times in her life where she was really struggling with what was going on. She gave up her career because that's what she and my father had a conversation, and she agreed to give up her career to take care of us. But I think she was going through a period of time where she was questioning that. Is this the right decision? Whatever. She didn't want to be pregnant with any more children. And that's when she, of course, I was conceived in her by Allah's grace. But that I would say maybe just a little disconcerted. I don't know the right word. That might not be the right word, but she wasn't totally at peace is what I'm trying to say. And we were discussing how that potentially could, and I shouldn't say that. My wife was asking me questions, and as she was asking me questions, I was thinking that potentially had an effect on me, because a lot of people talk about my confident nature and my ability to put my mind on something and I'm going to make it happen. Praise be to Allah, because He put that in me. But I also have my insecurities. I have insecure times. I have times when I don't feel like I'm doing my best and I'm not my best and I could have done better, probably like all of us do, right? And I'm being vulnerable at this point because those were the type of things that were coming out as I was reading The Unapologetic Black Guide to Mental Health, because I didn't read that book thinking about pointing my finger at other people. I read that book because I wanted it to help me, and I want to grow, and I want us to grow. And when we look back and we'll say, you know what, it's such and such part of the year. And man, we've read this many books, and this is how it's helped me look at things, decipher things, and be better about managing this day-to-day life. And that's what it did for me. I thought it was a excellent read. If anybody that's on tonight hasn't read the book, hasn't seen the book, please get it and put it in your to-read list. It's an excellent book. There is nothing that comes even close in my viewpoint when it comes to mental health, because there are no books written by mainstream doctors, so-called experts in mental health that ever take Black people's reality in consideration. And this one did. And I give that sister, Rita Walker, much props for being bold enough to write it, to being bold enough to write it. And as you all that read it know, I typically have people will write, he and him when they're talking in general, or, using male pronouns when they're discussing the general population. She was unapologetically speaking from the perspective of the female. She kept saying her and she when she was talking about the general. And I don't know how that affected other people, but I appreciated it. And I appreciated her strength, because that is not mainstream. That is not common. And for her to be so unapologetic in her blackness doesn't mean that we have to agree with everything she said. We might not agree with everything that we read in the book, right? But the reality is that what she presented to us on a platter, I think, is beautiful for us to start the conversation in the Black community, further the conversation in the Black community, and then get beyond the conversation into what are we going to do to undo some of the madness. I was having a conversation, my wife and I were having a conversation with a friend of ours today about what we can do as parents, as people that have influence over younger generation of people. What can we do to undo some of the madness that happened to us? And sometimes it's just about taking a little pause and thinking about what is about to come out of our mouth. And instead of regretting it after it comes out, think before we say it and say, well, you know what? Let me stop and say something different. Let me stop and say something that I'm going to think about, and making sure I'm building this person, instead of just throwing out the same old rhetoric that's happened in the Black community over and over and over again. Like, we can sit around and we say, man, you're from a Black family when such and such. You're from a Black family when your mama say, or when your daddy say. We have to start getting rid of some of that mess, because it is funny, but it's also damaging. It damages us as young people. We need to try to stop that from happening so we can improve and grow into the gods and grow our communities into the self-sufficient reality that we know we have the capability of doing. And then, we may be in a better place than to just accept somebody trying to push a vaccine on us and using weed and chicken and money, instead of telling us the truth and letting us use our mind and determine what it is. It will also allow us to have our young people not have to go through the same trials and tribulations that we went through. What kind of success is that? What kind of progress is that when we make our children have to go through the same madness we went through? Let's do something different. So I pray that's what this type of conversation and that type of book does to and for us. I entertainment, Brother Warren, Salam, my brother. Anita York, love the pearls. Praise be to Allah. Linda Muhammad, walaikum salam. Navy beans, pearl. That's right. Got to get those Navy beans in your life. Roger Barnes said, lately I've been asking my parents things about themselves, how they met, what things my dad went through while pursuing his education at large white institutions at a time when the civil rights movement was going on, etc. I've learned some very interesting, amazing, and even funny things that I never knew. I'm glad I had the foresight to start asking those questions while they're still hard on earth. Man, bro, that's such a beautiful point, because I think that's so profound, in that those of us who had both parents or a parent, and even those of us who were raised in an environment that was loving and it wasn't your biological parents, it's so important to get to know more about the people that shaped and molded you. Because some of what we become is because we just watch daddy, watch mama. Okay, I'm going to pattern myself after that. Why? Because that's who I think is it. That's who I think is the person on the planet, right? Before we get to know God, it's mama and daddy. Mama first and daddy, if he's there. And in a lot of our families, he was. But when you start to ask questions like you're talking about, and you start finding out what your parent was like and what your parent did, and you start seeing mirror realities in your life, that's not a mistake, right? Those are because of the conditioning, because of the training, which sometimes is good and then sometimes is bad. But we mix it all together, and inshallah, God comes into our life and we take it to the next level. That's very important, bro. I know I did a lot of talking to my mom over the last few years after my father died. And it's been very beneficial. It's been very introspective, and it has helped me gain a lot more insight of who I am and why I am who I am. It wasn't all about my dad, who everybody said I looked like him, talk like him, walk like him, everything about him they say I had. And so I grew up just wanting to emulate him, wanting to kind of walk in his shoes. But now I realize that so much of me is from my mother. Okay. So, yeah, excellent point, bro. Ed Purcell, my digestion is so much better. I also feel less pain in my joints and have lost weight. Ed Purcell, there you go, sister. We're going to have you on my testimony show. I'm going to reach out to you personally and see if you're okay with that. But testimony show is coming up. I'm trying to have it either at the end of March or the beginning or somewhere in April, where we'll have part 2 of people coming and doing just that, talking about what their experience is with How to Eat to Live, and then what their experience is with working with me, where How to Eat to Live is the foundation of what we're doing. So thank you for that wonderful testimony, Miss Etta Purcell. So what we are currently reading, brothers and sisters, is Understanding Assault on the Black Man, Black Manhood, and Black Masculinity. And I'm sure some people may be asking, why would you read a book in your book club that's just about Black men? Well, it's really not. Just like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's book, Message to the Black Man, is not just to Black people. It started with Black people because in his teaching that we were the ones that were supposed to be raised first because we were in the poorest condition. We have been done the worst. And so I think a book like this is positive for any and everybody to read. Why? Because there are agendas of the government that aren't necessarily privy to the average everyday person. And to me, Dr. Wesley does such a wonderful job of bringing some of those things out. And just like some of the other books that people, I should say the mainstream media tries to say that the Nation of Islam does in a negative way, like the secret relationship between Blacks and Jews, that information was compiled from Jewish scientists and Jewish scholars and Jewish writers. So, and that's the same thing that Dr. Wesley is doing. Dr. Wesley is going into the research that a lot of these people have done, and he's finding things that are saying exactly what the minister has been teaching. We can't trust these people. They're always trying to do something to take us in a negative direction, right? And part 2, you see this big old book, right? That's a big stack. The Pot Plot. And so these are the next 2 books that we're reading. It's going to take us a while, 5 pages a day, and both of them are pretty thick books, but the information that is in these books is going to be so powerful. It's going to feed us. It's going to make us understand a lot more. I know when I read this book, this is the second time I'll be reading this one. But when I read this book the first time, when I saw Dr. Wesley, I told him, I said, bro, this book really helped me. Because as a physician in medicine, being a Black man, going through the racist systems that I did after I came out of the Black schools, I wanted to know more about the history of medicine and why certain things were happening. Why were we as a medical community saying things that I had researched and know it wasn't true? But yet they had all these Black doctors around the country repeating these words instead of these Black doctors sitting back and saying, oh, hell no, that's not the truth. And then it makes people like me and people that were willing to stand up and speak out and say, that's not facts. That's not what the science is saying. Then we start looking like troublemakers. But, we have to do what we have to do. But this book put so much ammunition behind the things that I was thinking and the things that I researched. And I was having these ideas in my head, like some of the things that I said over the last 2 weeks about fasting, producing stem cells. I didn't read that in a book before I thought it in my mind. Praise to the God. I mean, because I can't take credit for that. When I was reading How to Eat to Live, I'm talking about solving problems and living this long and healing from chronic problems, and then working with some people and watching what was happening to them. The only explanation was that they were developing brand new cells. They weren't repairing. They were renewing. They were regenerating, right? And so that's how I came to those conclusions. I didn't need anybody to justify that for me. I was watching that reality, and it was the explanation that I came up with. And then you read things later and you say, okay, now these people are saying what I've been thinking for a while. So I'm just thankful, because it was How to Eat to Live that took me there, not anything else that I learned. Darina Muhammad, wa alaikum salam, my sister. So I pray that you all get the book. Okay. If you are in the book club, I put the link to Dr. Wesley's site so you can get them. If you are not in the book club, but you are interested in his books, let me know. I'll put his site up maybe at the end of the show, and that way you all will be able to get those books. Okay. So, announcement number one. I finally got the questions from Savior's Day, the workshop that we did on the immune system, how to eat to live in the immune system. So next week, Brother Tariq and Sister Dr. Mariam Farrakhan will be on the the Ultimate Wellness Scoop Transformation Tuesday, finishing up those questions because I thought there were some beautiful questions. And I pray that you all share the show, tell some friends about it, because that's what we're going to do next week is help boost everybody's information, because we do need to continue to build our immune system in these times so that we won't have to rely on things that could potentially be detrimental to us. Okay. That's the first one. So that's next Tuesday. And the Tuesday after that, I believe we're going to have the Dianetics show. Let me see. I sent a text message to see if somebody, sometimes I try to set up these shows and it depends. Yes. So the plan is that we are going to be able to do that. Okay. So next Tuesday, we're going to do the how to eat to live in the immune system. The week after that, we're going to do a review of Dianetics and how that can help us with our mental health. And then we are going to try to get that Testimony Tuesday in. So that is the announcements. Okay. So please share the show and tell somebody about it, please, if you are excited about that like I am. Okay. Now, I wanted to jump in just real quick, talk a little bit about this new vaccine, the newest vaccine, and then we'll deal with you all's questions, and we're going to close out, be a quick show tonight. Okay. Let me see. What did I do? So I don't know if you all have looked at the numbers recently. I know it's been a while since I talked about coronavirus, but of course I continue to do my research. But I just wanted to show this so that we can continue to work on being positive in a negative time, right? So here it is. The latest statistics are that there are 118 million cases in the world, right? 0.6 million deaths, as you see. That's what I want us to concentrate on, right? When you hear these people talking about the benefits of these vaccines, and a lot of people are deciding to take the vaccine. It was kind of amazing. I was talking to my brother the other day, and my mother is planning on taking the vaccine. And I have a couple of cousins that have taken it, and I have an aunt that's taken it. These are typically people in my family that reach out to me when they have questions about things, but they didn't call me and talk to me about the vaccine. And I don't know, who would be more knowledgeable that they know personally, or maybe they know somebody else. I don't know, but it's kind of something that I have to deal with personally, is knowing that, my family members reach out to me when they can't figure out certain things that are going on, when they need help with their health problems or a family's health problem, they come to me. But yet you would make a decision to take one of these vaccines without discussing that with me. Hey, it's your choice. I'm not mad, but I just, to me, it's kind of something to think about. But active cases, as you see, look at the worldwide population. There are 99.6% of the population that have been infected that are in mild condition, and 0.4 to serious or critical. And then you have over here, we're talking about all the cases, that have already been called closed, 97% recovered and 3% deaths. So when you look at the percentages with just what people are dealing with on a regular, everyday basis, that's better than any vaccine from this perspective. If we're going to compare apples, right? It's not necessarily exactly apples to apples, but when we're talking about Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine that were supposedly 94, 95%. They're not saying that this vaccine is going to keep you from getting the infection. It's not saying that the vaccine is going to solve it. There's no information that says that yet. They haven't said that getting the vaccine is going to stop you from spreading it to another. Some people that have gotten the vaccine and still got a coronavirus infection after the vaccine. So there's still, and I'm not saying that to be negative, but I'm saying that there's still too early for us to compile information and really be able to study the information and say what really is. But there are some things, the only things that they really can say about these vaccines that these studies are saying is that it stops people from developing severe disease, stops them from dying or being hospitalized very quick. And so here's the American statistics, right? Since most of us live here, 29,540,000 deaths last year. More people died from heart attacks than that. But again, we're talking 97% and 3% deaths. So what would happen if we would spend our time concentrating on how to do the things that helps improve our immune system? What would happen if the government was suggesting that we eat the type of foods that would boost your immune system, and then we wouldn't even be as much fear? So it's just an idea. I'm not trying to come on here and bash anybody for the decisions that they make or anything of the such. But I'm sure there's some people that would ask, well, why are you talking about vaccines at all? Because there are many people out here taking them. Yeah, I have my stance. Yes, I have my firm decision not to, nor would I suggest anybody in my family take one, because there just have been too many questions that I've had about vaccines over time. But as a person who's concerned about my community in general, there are people out here taking medications. There are many people that are approaching physicians now so they can get some ivermectin and taking it so-called to prophylactically keep from getting this infection. Or if they feel like they have any symptoms or they test positive, they're going and taking ivermectin to so-called treat it, even if they don't have any symptoms. And there are a lot of doctors out there selling prescriptions now. There are a lot of people that are trying even to travel. Some travel restrictions are trying to get out of the country to get ivermectin and get large doses of it so that they can come back here and sell it. So all of these different things are going on. And so I believe that I have to be educated and come back and have the ability to give